Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of The Wrap, brought to you by Michigan Medicine Headlines. I'm Dan Ellman with the Department of Communication.
And I'm Hunter Mitchell, seasoned podcast amateur and co-host of The Wrap. This week we'll give you all the answers as we discuss Michigan Answers, a brand new branding campaign launched by the organization.
Before we get into that, be sure to go back and check out all previous episodes of The Wrap. You can find the shows on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere else you find your podcasts. Episodes can also be found on the Michigan Medicine YouTube channel.
Okay, it's time to bring in a third member of the Department of Communication, Rebecca Priest, who is the Director of Marketing here at Michigan Medicine. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yep, thank you for having me. We're excited to give a little behind the scenes of where the campaign came from.
Absolutely. So first, can you explain why Michigan Medicine needed to create a branding campaign right now?
So it's been several years actually since Michigan Medicine had an advertising campaign out in the field. We've had a few waves of ads that have been meant to support very specific needs. We did some advertising over the summer, for example, after the first surge of the pandemic to help reassure our community that it was safe to come back for care and not to put off getting care. So we have had a few sort of mini campaigns here and there, but we saw going back about 2 years now, because the pandemic kind of put a little delay on things. We saw kind of our data about the way people feel about our brand and their awareness and their understanding of what Michigan Medicine means. And the fact that there's kind of 3 different parts of Michigan Medicine that come together in a really unique way. That was really just something that was lost, I guess, if you will, in our external audience. And it's just not a good health indicator of your brand to have the numbers going in that direction. So this was the right time really for us to be looking at reintroducing a campaign that helps our community understand our impact and reflects the work of all the people here, all the really important things that get our people up in the morning and drive them when they come to the office. So we're excited to be able to help reflect that back to our community.
So where did the concept Michigan Answers come from?
So we started, we knew we needed a sort of a fresh campaign for Michigan Medicine. And we started with doing a lot of focus groups. And again, this really started before the pandemic. Obviously, none of us expected things to go the way they did. So we had started this work before the pandemic, doing a lot of focus groups, asking people about their work and about their impact of their work. And one of the things our agency, our advertising agency partner, Daniel Bryan, quickly pointed out to us, and they've done work with a lot of different hospitals and academic medical centers, and they pointed out how unique it was to hear the way people from Michigan Medicine talked about cures. That they've done a lot of work with a lot of people, and they said people here talk about cures as in a very accessible way, that's what they come to work for, that's what motivates them, that's what they are searching for. And you don't always find that. Sometimes it's a little bit more of a conservative attitude about that. We know that we don't want to overpromise and that we need to be very transparent and not promise cures when not everybody does have a cure. But at the end of the day, people who come here for care are looking for cures. And in some cases, when a cure is not possible, they're looking for information. They're looking for one place that they can come to get answers, to get sort of a definitive plan, to feel like they understand their plan and they're confident in their plan. And so without being able to necessarily promise cures, Michigan Answers was a way for us to kind of tap into that motivation and that drive. And what we were hearing from our focus groups really kind of brings people to work every day here. So, maybe it's not a cure for everyone. In some cases, maybe it's a definitive diagnosis. In other cases, maybe it's learning to live with a disease that, can affect your lifestyle, and learning how to thrive and learning how to do the things that you want to do with that disease. So Michigan Answers can mean different things to different people. And so we're excited to kind of be able to use it in different ways as we kind of go through the campaign.
Yeah, now I know, one of the things that's fascinated me is all the work that's gone into, that you mentioned, the focus groups and other sorts of research, both internal and external. I know you took, my opinions into account as both, an internal member of the Department of Communication, but also a patient at Michigan Medicine, and I really appreciated that. How has Michigan Answers sort of been received so far?
So before we even settled on a campaign, we had done a round of testing where we created a series of videos using sort of different images and different phrases and different audio tracks, and tested them with internal and external audiences. They watched a series of videos, and then we asked questions to see which ones, changed the way people answered questions about a hospital that they felt like was their committed partner, a hospital they felt like was very innovative, a hospital they had kind of best friend feelings about. So even before we settled on Michigan Answers, we were doing research to kind of see how different images and phrases made people feel. And then after we kind of honed in on Michigan Answers as our front runner, then we did focus groups around some of the TV ads, like you mentioned, and got some really good, helpful information about you put together an ad and you kind of have it in your mind as people perceiving it one way, and then you test it in front of people and you're like, oh, they looked at that differently and we need to make some changes. So we did make some changes and kind of like decided which of the stories we were working on would work the best. I think it's important too for people to know this is just the beginning. So we're starting with 3 TV ads. We're excited. Those are starting to air this week. We've got a website with a bunch of different stories on it. The hospital, there's a lot of different faces you're going to be seeing there, but this is round 1. And we hope this is a long campaign. And one of the things that we're excited about is that people will share their Michigan Answers stories with us, both patients, but also faculty and staff. What was their Michigan answer? How did they think their work connects to Michigan Answers? And that's going to be hopefully where we get our next round of stories, so that the next round is even more reflective of the people and the work here at Michigan Medicine.
So what else should employees expect to see from the campaign?
Yeah, so for those that are traveling to the medical campus right now, we have elevator wraps that went up last week, a first round of elevator wraps. We've got more going up over the course of the month. We also have new banners going up, some of the wall displays. So a lot of different images around the medical campus. For those that aren't on the medical campus, we'll have screensavers, but really the website is going to be an opportunity for people to kind of go and look at some of the stories. We've got our Michigan Answers anthem video, which was made for our internal audience. It wasn't made for TV. It wasn't made to go to patients. It was really made for our own people here to see that Michigan Answers is meant to reflect all 3 parts of our mission: research, education, and clinical care. And so that video was shared on Headlines last week. I'm sure Daniel can provide that URL for everyone to visit. So you can find that video on Headlines. The TV ads are also available on Headlines, and hopefully you'll be seeing them on TV as well. We also have billboards going up, billboards and display ads that you might see if you're on different news sites or just a number of different websites that you might be seeing some of our ads on. So we're excited. We hope people will see it and feel proud and feel like their work is really being highlighted to the community.
Yeah, a lot of things to look forward to. And when you're just surfing the web or driving down the road, you never know where Michigan Answers will pop up. Well, thank you so much for sharing this information, Rebecca. Now, your work here is not done. You might think it is, but it is time for the lightning round, where you have to answer 4 questions in just 1 minute. So are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right.
Well, no, but yes.
All right. Well, the first question is, what is your favorite part of your job?
I think the creativity, being able to come up with ways when different clients come to us and say, I need help figuring this out, or I need help telling people about this, being able to help use our different tools to help them with their problems.
All right, the Oscars are coming up at the end of the month. What is your favorite movie?
Oh man, oh gosh, I needed a chance to prepare for this. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I consume a lot more like bite-sized television than movies. But you know what? My kids and I watched Raya and the Last Dragon recently, and that was a big hit. All of us liked it. Even my husband sat through it the second time. So we liked that one.
Awesome. Well, speaking of superheroes, what if you could have one superpower? What would that be?
I think I'd like to read people's minds. That can be a superpower, right? I mean, I had a psychology undergrad, and marketing is all about trying to figure out how to help people understand your product and your brand. And so I think it would be fun to be able to read people's minds and help, yeah, that would be a really handy skill in my profession.
And then you'd know what questions are coming during the
I
lightning
would
round.
know to look up good movies before I got on here.
What's the one thing you miss the most that the pandemic has prevented you from doing?
Just being with people. Yeah, I think a lot of people probably have that experience, but just, it's nice now that things are warming up. You can go outside and take walks and stuff. But yeah, I really missed the opportunity to be with family and coworkers. I miss you guys. So glad to be heading in the right direction soon.
All right. Well, Rebecca, thanks for being a great sport and for breaking down the Michigan Answers campaign for our listeners. If you want to learn more about the new branding campaign, go to mmheadlines.org. That's mmheadlines.org.
While you're at Headlines, you can check out this week's featured stories. For instance, there was a rundown of all the incredible team members that Headlines readers nominated as MVPs in their area. There was also a closer look at how Mott is making MRIs more friendly and enjoyable for kids, and the story of how the Rogel Cancer Center is better serving the Middle Eastern and North African community in southeastern Michigan. Find all that and more at mmheadlines.org.
So, Dan, the MRI story got me thinking about all the incredible innovations taking place across Michigan medicine. In your time here, what's been the coolest thing that you've seen our faculty and staff do?
Boy, only having to pick one thing. I mean, there's been so many awesome stories that I've had the privilege of covering. One of the coolest, I think, is what are called heartbeat songs, and it's music therapists at Mod, and what they do is they record heartbeats of heart transplant patients, and they record the heartbeats both before a transplant and after a transplant, and then set those beats to a song and to music. And it's really incredible, and it's this emotional gift that both the parents and the kid get to take away. They'll always have a recording of their old heart. They'll have this recording of their new heart. And it was really, pardon my pun, heartwarming to cover that story and sort of, find this creative, unique way that our music therapists were able to give back to patients. Now, what about you?
Wow. Well, that's amazing. First of all, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, we actually before your time here, we did a rap episode on it. So if you listeners are interested, go back and find that one, a rap episode probably a couple years ago on heartbeat songs. So it really was awesome. And there's an example of the song in that episode.
Awesome. Well, so for me, lately we've been working a lot with nursing for Nursing Week coming up. We've been interviewing them and kind of following them around. And, you think you know a profession and you get to talk to them and kind of see what their day-to-day is like. And I'm just amazed at what they go through and they do for patients and how they interact. And so for me, I can't point to one particular thing, but especially with COVID, watching how they interact with COVID things, it's amazing. I have the utmost respect for that profession, even before, but more so now. But
yeah, that's great. All right, it's time for the weekly trivia contest. Last week, we asked listeners, what is the name of the new branding campaign at Michigan Medicine? And if you don't know the answer by now, well, we have no hope for you. But it is, of course, Michigan Answers. Congratulations to Stephanie Shear, who sent in the correct answer. Stephanie, a member of the Department of Communication, will be in touch shortly to help you claim your prize. Now for this week's question, here's Hunter.
This week's question is, MRI machines at Mott have been disguised as what to make them more enjoyable for children? Once again, MRI machines at Mott have been disguised as what to make them more enjoyable for children? You can find the answer in this week's headline story, and once you know it, send it to headlines@med.umich.edu for a chance to win a prize.
It's all the time we have for this week. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for joining us, and thank you as always to all of our listeners and viewers for everything you do for patients, families, and each other.
We'll see you next week.